Today I'm going to be bringing you guys my top 5 favorite comic book movies of all time. What is up, guys? I'm Cody, the dude of cinema. Now, before I get into this video, I just want to say a few things. First off, this is my opinion. This is my top 5 list, so you guys might agree, you guys might disagree with some of my choices. You guys might be wondering why this movie's there, why this movie isn't there, why this movie's above or below that movie. Like I said, it's totally my opinion. This is my list. That's the fun of doing this video. I want to know what your top 5 favorite comic book movies are, so let me know down in the comments below. Also, I'm going to be briefly explaining why these movies are on my top 5 list, so there will be spoilers. I'm sure you guys have all seen the movies on my list, but I just want to say that in case some of you guys haven't seen these movies. There will be minor spoilers, so just so you guys know. This list was also very hard to make, so there are going to be a few ties on this list, to be honest, because I just love so many comic book movies. I'm just a huge fan of this genre, as you can see. So it did take a long time making this list, and I've thought a lot about it, but I feel like this is my top 5 list. I am dead set on that, so yeah. And lastly, my list could change. You know, there are a lot of comic book movies coming out this year and next year and through the next 4 or 5 years, so my list will definitely change, but this is my favorites list as of now. So with all of that being said, let's get started. Kicking off this list at number 5 is our first tie. Yes, it's our very first tie, and that is between 300 and Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Honestly, I thought a lot about this, and I really love these movies the same. I mean, starting off at 300, that movie is directed by Zack Snyder, cinematography by Larry Fong, and honestly, it's just a visual piece of art. I've loved that movie ever since it came out. I think I was in 7th grade when that movie came out, and my friend told me about it, and I fell in love with it. And I still love that movie. I bought it on Blu-ray. I mean, it is such a great action movie. The slow motion really shows the brutality of the action and of the Spartans' fighting style. Like I said, the visuals are just amazing. It's like a live action graphic novel. That's the aesthetic that they were going for, and they totally nailed it. I mean, visually this movie is great. The action's great. The performances are honestly really good by Gerard Butler, Michael Fassbender. I mean, just all around. That movie is just a very solid action movie, and that's why it's on my list. And Captain America: The Winter Soldier, I mean, what can I say about this movie? This is easily one of the best MCU movies, and the reason why I feel why is because it just made our characters feel so vulnerable. I mean, look at Captain America. Just a few years ago, he woke up from a 75-year nap. Our world is completely new to him. He's surrounded by all this technology, and he feels so out of place and vulnerable. Not so much, in terms of getting shot or in terms of combat, but emotionally and mentally, he's just vulnerable. He doesn't know this world. He doesn't really know any of the people except for the Avengers and the people that he's met through the Avengers. He has his one friend, Anthony Mackie, who plays Falcon, who did a great job in the movie as well. And I really love their camaraderie in the movie, and it's progressed as well through the MCU, and I really love it. And Falcon has become pretty much a fan favorite. And like I said, though, Captain America he feels so vulnerable. He gets beaten up. He gets shot at. I mean, not even in the MCU movies that we have now have we seen Captain America this vulnerable. So it just did a really good job. It has really great action, a very compelling story. The fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been taken over by Hydra is just another example of vulnerability. I mean, this entire movie is based around vulnerability, and it did a very, very good job with it. Like I said, definitely one of the best MCU movies we've had by far. It doesn't rely on its connection to the MCU movies. It's just a standalone, good Captain America movie. And I really hope that we get another MCU movie of that caliber. Hopefully Thor Ragnarok or maybe even Infinity War are of that caliber. But I mean, I feel up to this point, Winter Soldier is definitely the best MCU movie we've had. Coming in at number 4 on my list is Logan. What can I even say about this movie, man? It was such an emotional roller coaster ride of a movie. It was an experience. I loved every second of Logan. I love this movie. Just the forest massacre, just that scene where Xavier's having his big old freak out and everyone's frozen and Logan's just killing them all. I mean, the opening scene alone, just so many things about this movie. It's violent, it's gritty, it's dark, but it also has some very important themes that focus on family and the importance of family and the power of family and how that connection to family can really make you feel fulfilled in life. There are so many good themes in that movie, and it's, like I said, it's so emotional. Hugh Jackman's last performance as Wolverine, at least as far as we know. Oh my gosh, the ending was so perfect when the cross was turned over to the X. The performances were out of this world. Hugh Jackman killed it. Daphne Keane killed it. Everyone in this movie just brought their A game, and it showed. I mean, Logan is just one hell of a movie. Definitely one of the best movies of the year so far. And me and Scott saw it together, and Scott was crying. I had a tear coming down. I mean, it was such a powerful movie, guys. And if you haven't seen it yet, for whatever reason, go see it, because it is definitely a great movie. Coming in at number 3 on this list is yet another tie, and that is between Watchmen and Spider-Man 2. Honestly, I've loved both of these movies for a very long time. Watchmen is another Zack Snyder film, cinematography by Larry Fong. Those two they produce art, man. Those two are such a great combination, and I'm just a huge fan of Zack Snyder's work. A lot of people think he's not that great of a director, but I respectfully disagree. I think he's very talented. He has a very unique vision, and he's very good at bringing that vision to life, and I really respect him for that, and he works really hard. But Watchmen, it just showed a very dark, violent side to the superhero genre, and I use that with quotes because it's a superhero movie. It's like an indirect superhero movie, I guess. That's the way I look at it. And I love the opening credits that just follow the history of the Minutemen up to the Watchmen and how they were influencing really major historical events. And I just thought that was really well done, all in slow motion. You know, Zack Snyder's the king of slow motion. That's really well done. The cinematography is top notch in this movie. The action, once again done by Zack Snyder, is really, really great. I mean, I love the action in this movie. Obviously, it's a little over the top, but it works for the atmosphere of the movie. It's very cinematic and it's very big, and I love it. It's just so dark and gritty and violent, and I just really love that side of it. I haven't really read the graphic novel. I don't really know a whole lot about that, so my knowledge is just based off the film. And there were some very dramatic moments in that movie. There were some very just great action-packed moments. You know, when Rorschach died, that was really emotional. Ozzy's entire plan, when he's just revealing that entire plan and just everything that he's done behind the strings, it was just so brilliantly crafted. The story was really well told. It's a very solid movie. And Spider-Man 2, oh man, this movie set the standard for comic book movies. This movie, I think, is one of the best comic book movies ever made. I think it's emotional. This movie has some very powerful and relatable themes, some very personal, emotional themes to it. This movie had great action, great performances, a great story, like when Peter begins to lose his power because he pretty much begins to doubt himself, and that pretty much causes him to lose his powers. I just think that was a really interesting way to go, and it was very personal and it was very relatable, because we all have those moments where we don't believe in ourselves, and sometimes we just need to find that thing that we love that just keeps us going, and this movie did a really good job at that. And the villain was done very well. Otto Octavius, he was easily one of the best villains in a comic book movie, like next to the Joker in The Dark Knight. I mean, this guy, he just gave a great performance. I love like the rivalry that's building between Harry and Peter as well. It just kept building and building and building. Everything about this movie was just solid. I mean, I can watch that movie now. I have it on Blu-ray. I can watch it now and still love it. I mean, the action scenes are so visceral and exciting and intense. Like I said, the story is great and emotional, and it really just hammers Peter into the ground. I mean, we see Peter just get beaten up by life, by people, but it's great to see him come out on top at the end, and that's what really helps us root for him, and it really helps us get behind him. And Spider-Man 2 just did everything right. Coming in at number 2 is our final tie, and that is between Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice and The Dark Knight. Now, I cherish these movies. I mean, Batman v Superman, I remember when I saw it in theaters. I saw it a little bit early in a huge IMAX theater. It was an experience to remember. That movie is a pure work of art, in my opinion. I mean, I really don't understand a lot of the hate that comes from that movie. Does it have its flaws? Yes. But so does every other movie. But for some reason, this film got torn apart for it. But especially the Ultimate Edition. It is amazing. The story flows great. It's more of, what if these superpowered beings and these vigilantes and these greater beings existed in our real world? How would we react to them? How would we react to their presence here? You know, and I just love that. You know, not everyone would love them. Not everyone would worship them. You know, it would be divided. And I just love the take on it. It's so, you know, it's dark, but it's supposed to be. It's a continuation of the story from Man of Steel, and they did it right. It explores, you know, the scenario of what if these beings existed, and I really love that. It had great performances all around. Ben Affleck is easily one of the best Batmen we've ever had. He is Batman. He is Bruce Wayne Batman. He killed it. The action scenes in this movie are phenomenal. The warehouse fight, the Doomsday fight, the Batman and Superman fight. Just, I could make a 2-hour video about this movie. I mean, there's so much symbolism. The cinematography and directing from Larry Fong and Zack Snyder, it's out of this world. I mean, it is so deep, and there's so much attention to detail and so much care put into this movie. And I feel like over time it is going to be appreciated. It already is kind of getting appreciated more and more. I mean, I do believe that, truly I do. But it's sad that it just went over so many people's heads, because this movie took a different direction with the superhero movie route, and I really, really appreciated it a lot. Now, The Dark Knight, need I say more? I mean, this movie set the standard for superhero movies, up there with Spider-Man 2. I mean, Heath Ledger's Joker is unparalleled. He won an Oscar for his performance. The only actor to win an Oscar for a performance in a superhero movie, in a comic book movie. That should say it all right there. He took that character to new heights. And Christian Bale, of course, was great as Batman and Bruce Wayne for that Nolan universe. The story was very compelling. It was brilliantly told, and it was just executed great. The pacing, I don't think there was anything wrong with the pacing. I literally think that's as close to perfect that you can get with a Batman movie. I mean, it is just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, just the action isn't so much the focus of these movies. It's more of like the story and the characters, and I really love that a lot. And Nolan just knocked it out of the park, made the best Joker I think we've ever seen. I just think, like I said, created one of the best comic book movies we have ever seen. If you somehow have not seen The Dark Knight, stop everything you're doing and go see it right now, because this movie is absolutely phenomenal. Now, before we get to the number one pick, I just have a few honorable mentions that I want to list. So here we go. The first one is Wonder Woman. Now, I really love this movie. I had a great time seeing it in theaters. I saw it twice. I really do like this movie a lot. It is an amazing DCU entry. I love that it got really well received, because it deserved it. The story was great. The performances were great. The action was phenomenal. The Ares reveal was fantastic. I mean, there's just so much about this movie that was just done really well. The color palette, the colors just pop. They're beautiful. Gal Gadot and Chris Pine have the best chemistry ever. I really loved it. They were electric. They were magical. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, she really just had that strong, amazing presence that Diana has. Same with Chris Pine as Steve Trevor. He was perfect. He was a side character, a love interest with something to do. He wasn't a waste. I really love this movie, you guys. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely go see it. It's worth your time, because it's crushing it in the box office right now. My next honorable mention is, of course, The Avengers. What can I say? I mean, it was so great finally seeing all these characters come together after seeing their solo movies. Just seeing the banter between them, their chemistry, the fact they didn't get along at first. You know, the action scenes were grand and epic. It was so amazing seeing them fight together for the first time. That circle tracking shot just showing all of them getting ready to fight in New York. It was an experience seeing this movie, you guys. I mean, it was the first of its kind. It was like the first superhero team-up movie we had seen, and it was done so well. Joss Whedon did a great job with that movie. My last honorable mention is Iron Man. The reason why this is my last honorable mention is because it kicked off the entire MCU. I mean, it was great. It was a great movie. It stood on its own. It really told the story of Tony Stark very well. How he pretty much came back from nothing and built this suit to pretty much make sure that nothing like that happened to anybody else, and just used it to do good. And I just loved it. I love his entire process of building the suit, and when he actually goes for his first test flight, and it's just awesome. Like, everything about that movie is great. The final fight with Jeff Bridges' character, it's just, everything about that movie is epic. And of course, the end credit scene with Samuel L. Jackson teasing the Avengers Initiative. I mean, it kicked everything off, and that's the reason why it's my last honorable mention. And here we are, guys. My number one pick, my favorite comic book movie of all time, is Man of Steel. I adore this movie. To me, it's pretty much a masterpiece, and yes, that is biased, but honestly, I have a very personal connection to the character of Superman. I've loved Superman since I was a baby, since I was very little, as long as I can remember. I've loved the character of Superman. I felt like I could relate to him. I just love his story, and I love his comics. I've just been a huge fan of the character my entire life. When I was a kid and I was watching the animated series, I pictured, like, what if we got that as a real movie? Like, what if, I would picture in my head, just Superman punching people through buildings and flying really fast. Like, what if we got to see a movie like that? And Zack Snyder did such a beautiful job bringing Superman to life. I mean, all of his abilities, his heat vision, his flying, just everything. I love that it was like a first encounter type story. The fact that it was like, he is an alien. It focused on that a lot. And that is a very huge component of Superman's character. You know, yeah, he is a farm boy from Kansas, but yes, he is an alien. He is from Krypton. He wouldn't just be accepted and embraced just like that. You know, some people would be afraid of him because he is an alien. And I just love how it explored that, and just the performances all around. Russell Crowe as Jor-El, fantastic. I loved seeing him. I hope that we get to see more of him. We probably won't, but I loved him as Jor-El. He was so great. He had some of the best dialogue in the entire movie. Henry Cavill as Superman. He is Superman now. I mean, Reeve was Superman for like that age, like the golden age of superhero movies. Christopher Reeve was Superman, and he is Superman. He'll always be Superman. But Henry Cavill is this generation's Superman. He embodies Kal-El, Clark, Superman just so well. Physically, too, he looks like Superman. He's just a great pick for Superman, Clark Kent. I love him as a character. Also, Kevin Costner as Pa Kent. Killed it. He also had a lot of the great dialogue in the movie. He had a lot of the emotional parts, too. Some parts that really actually make me tear up because they're just so great and relatable between him and young Clark. There are so many scenes in this movie that I love. The cinematography by Amir Mokri, amazing. There are so many great shots in this movie, and him and Zack Snyder went for a more handheld, realistic type look, and I loved it. I really did. And the action sequences are out of this world. The throwdown in Smallville is spectacular. The end fight with Zod, I remember watching that in the theater. The end fight with Zod, it was fantastic. When he snapped Zod's neck, our entire theater was silent. I was just sitting here like this. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, you could hear someone's heartbeat. It was so quiet. Everyone was so shocked because none of us saw it coming. It was just a great way to end that movie because it pretty much established like his no-kill rule, because he killed the last Kryptonian, at least as far as he knows, at least as far as we know. So that was the last of his people, and that wasn't easy for him, you know, but he had to do what was best for the people that he's grown to love, the people that he's known his entire life, even though they reject him. And that is Superman. I mean, there are just so many things about this movie that I love, and that is why it is my number one pick, my favorite comic book movie of all time. I have it on Blu-ray. I watch it all the time. I love the trailers. Just the score by Hans Zimmer is absolutely phenomenal. I listen to it all the time. It's probably one of my favorite music scores. Everything about Man of Steel is amazing, you guys. I love this movie. But yeah, guys, those are my top 5 favorite comic book movies of all time. Let me know your top 5 list down in the comments below. I'm really intrigued to know what your top 5 list is. I really want to know what some of your favorite movies are. I know you guys don't all agree with my list. I'm sure a lot of you guys don't, but like I said, this is just my personal list. And I'd really love to know your guys' list and why they are your favorite. So let me know down in the comments below. Throw me a like and subscribe for more awesome content. Dude of Cinema, out.